In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to a place at the table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
a place at the table where we're set to shake much more than the table. Welcome to a place at the table. Sit back, relax, and let me take you over the menu. I'll be taking us to a borders beyond Nigeria, to Senegal to be precise. Suffice to say, I'm cautiously optimistic. However, today we have a new kid, not really a kid. I would say we have a new handsome man joining us today. Yes, he's another Yinka, not the old Yinka. Welcome, Yinka.
Thank you. As Ireti says, I'm Yinka Obebe, and I come with some optimism of my own. I'm calling for National Rescue Mission for Brand Nigeria and saying, citizens to the rescue.
No one will replace my Yinka. I am saying there's strength in diversity as illustrated by our fantastic panel here. Welcome to the panel once again, Yinka.
Thank you.
Strength in diversity? Does this diversity include what AI brings to the table? Ready or not?
Here I come, you can hide.
That is exactly what AI said. And it's here to stay. We better make room for it. I am Bright Jaja.
Certainly, Bright. Failure to prepare equates to a preparation for failure. I'm saying the looting of our politicians is predictable. What are we doing about it? I'm Aisha Yusufu.
Now that you know what's on the menu, let's get tucked in. The kingmaker and the king. By now, it's no longer news that Senegal, a stable democracy in Africa, has elected Africa's youngest president. 44 years old, Diomaye Faye was sworn in as the 5th president of Senegal just this Tuesday. The former tax collector had only just been released from prison on March the 14th, 2 weeks before the elections. Diomaye, as he is fondly called, is educated, intelligent, and a left-leaning promoter of United Africa. However, Faye has a mentor and a confidant by the name of Ousmane Sonko. So who is Sonko? Sonko is also a former tax collector. They both attended the same school, they were both members of the same political party, and they shared the same ideology. Sonko and Faye were also released from prison on the same day. But they're very different in character. Faye is said to be gentle in disposition, whereas Sonko is known for his firebrand ways. Sonko has been in the game of frontline politics and was a presidential candidate in the nation's 2019 elections, where he came 3rd. An advocate against bad governance and corruption, Sonko became the most outspoken government critic in Senegal. So vocal was he that it landed him on the wrong side of the law a few times. He was even charged with repeated rape by a former female acquaintance. Sonko called it politically motivated. He was eventually acquitted of the rape charge, but was later convicted of corrupting the youth, landing him in jail for 2 years. It was this criminal conviction that disqualified his candidacy in the just completed elections. Despite his incarceration, Sonko remained the most popular opposition leader in Senegal. He was worshipped and adored by young, old, and school children alike. So naturally, he showered and invested his political popularity and currency on the campaign of his mentee. In fact, Sonko's endorsement was so powerful and so critical to Faye's campaign that the slogan was a direct message to the voters, which stated, and I quote, "Diomaye is Ousmane." That campaign slogan won him 56% of the votes. After the election victory, political watchers like yours truly wondered if the larger-than-life shadow of Sonko could morph or become a future problem for the President Faye. However, for now, it would appear that those fears have been allayed, with Faye appointing Sonko as his prime minister. So today, I join my voices with all of Africa celebrating Senegal's new dawn. A dawn filled with excitement, high hopes, and huge expectations. There are many reasons for us to be euphoric, yet we mustn't forget our history of failed expectations. We've been here before, Africa. So while I say cheers to the hope of a bright and fruitful future shaped by promised excellence in leadership with integrity.
Just finding it interesting that they both, sort of traveled the same pathway, and then just 2 weeks to the elections they won. It's interesting. It's interesting, and I'm hopeful for Senegal. I mean, you have a hint of let's wait and see, because this is Africa. But hey, I'm hopeful for them. Africa truly deserves its pride of place. It was Nigeria. I'm saying was because we are thinking in our head that we are so giant. But Nehi,
Faye appointing Osman as the prime minister, I mean, solves the situation in a way, but I mean, there's a lot to wait for. I mean, if you had Osman out there and not involved in the government, there's a possibility that the rancor might start a lot earlier. But now that they're both in the same government, there's still no guarantee that, and Osman is more experienced, Osman is older.
That's right.
And he's a prime minister. And from what I know, prime ministers are the ones that actually run the country when you have a president in the country. So
well, depending on the shape of the type of.
So, I mean, there's still a lot we should, I mean, fingers crossed. And I hope that Osman is, matured enough and allows the young man
the ego factor, right?
Yes.
The ego factor.
What do you think? A young fellow like the president.
So for me, what I see here is this is just going to be the beginning of young people stepping out and saying, you know what, if he can do it, then we can do it too. But another part of it is the mentorship part, which I think we like that in Nigeria a lot. I think the older generation sees young people as a threat. Majorly, even in business, it's like, I'm just trying to learn from you. I'm not trying to take what you have, right? So if we're able to fix that problem, I think it's going to help us a lot. That's
interesting. Aisha, what do you think?
One thing that could have happened when Ousmane went to prison is to say, if it's not him, nobody else. He wouldn't even, put him out to be there for him. So for me, that's a huge win.
Yes.
And the most important thing for this election is that the people's, mandate was allowed to stand. And I look at, when we talk about what has happened in Senegal, and for me, it's the same thing that happened in Nigeria in 2023. Unfortunately for us, the people's mandate was not allowed to stand. So that's very critical. And going forward is to get to a place where they're working together. Yes, before we even think about whether it's going to be, there's going to be problems, then let's just enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Something amazing happened. The people said no. They put their feet down. They were ready to go out on the streets and ensure that, the power of the people truly is what is the real power in the country. And that's very important. So as they go on, right now they've started off on a good footing. So as Prime Minister and President, is for them to work together, but most importantly, for them to give that good governance, accountability, and transparency, and just look at it. It's about what legacy are you going to leave behind? For me, I always say to any politician or anybody in any office, if 100 years from now, people are not looking at your reign and, being so grateful that you were there, then it's a failure. It's not about people who are going to praise you today. It's about people, the impact you are going to make should last a century at least.
So in Senegal, they have something called the 7 Wise Men. The 7 Wise Men, which is the equivalent of our Supreme Court, right? So it's actually 5 men and 2 women. That's one. But even more so is, why is a 44-year-old former tax collector, if you look at his, when he did his tax, what's that, declaration of assets? He had hardly anything. So how was he able to afford a bigger? Because, guess what? Senegal pays, the country pays for everybody's campaign. So you can imagine, you don't have to start looking for money. That's why they were able to come out of prison 2 weeks, and then everybody gets their campaign paid for. And that's really something that I think Nigeria could learn from, certainly, because if you really want young, bright young people. That's how you get them in there.
But
They're
was
not
2 weeks
abused.
enough for him to prepare? Was he preparing
let me
from
answer.
prison? Because
so,
2
no,
weeks.
because Sonko, it was all about Sonko. That's what I'm saying. Fight, it wasn't about fight.
Okay.
Sonko has been popular. He's so popular.
Was he out?
No, he didn't have to be.
So-
He's been popular since forever.
Okay.
They wanted him. So they had no
Kudos,
choice. In
Senegal.
fact, the country went rioting because of Sonko in 2019 when he was convicted. So Faye was always his second in command. Always, always, always.
Nice
So
one.
if it couldn't be Sonko, it had to be Faye.
There are two things. I mean, if you don't want, if you say we want a situation whereby they can pay for our campaign, that would make sense. But that's not going to happen. We know that, right? But another thing that could happen is to have a cap
On how much you spend.
on how much you spend. Now, what?
But that-
There is a
that
cap.
There is a
But it
cap, but
doesn't
nobody
work.
obeys it.
abides by it.
There is a cap.
There is a
I mean, I didn't even know there was a cap.
There
but,
is.
like, if that was possible, that would give everybody an equal opportunity.
Nah.
The reason why young people will not be able to run for office is finance. But apart from that, even if we try to get the finance from our mentors and our godfathers, at the end of the day, they control everything that
That's
happens.
why the country
the money
has
plays
to
a
pay
major
for
role.
it.
Yeah,
Because
the money
if the
plays a
country
major role.
says, you see, a country that's actually invested in the growth of its democracy will say, look, every 4 years,
That makes so
this
much
is how
sense.
much, and we have, and everybody gets the
Yeah.
same amount.
Okay.
Anyway, look,
That's
I'm
crazy.
hopeful, you're hopeful, and you see, as you've heard, all of my colleagues here are also hopeful. I'm going to hand over to Yinka as he continues on this path of optimism. Perhaps it's infectious.
Brand Nigeria is a story of hope that is still unfolding. I'm here to ensure that it is told as fully and vibrantly as possible. What about you? Citizens to the rescue, Brand Nigeria. It is said that if you give a man fish, he will soon go hungry. But if you teach him to fish, he will furnish his table for days and weeks to come. I believe we're in an era where skills of self-development and homegrown solutions are desperately needed. I have been quite an advocate of branding, marketing Nigeria in the best way I can. I feel strongly about citizens building the Nigeria they want to see, from developing assets that will guarantee internal revenue from all the things we seem to be good at, the creative industry, including art, music, movies, fashion, and so on. We need to take creativity to the next level. Afrobeat needs domestic infrastructure to ensure we can begin to feel the real impact of Afrobeat to the world. There is so much any government can do. And from an entrepreneurial perspective, I'd rather put my hopes building what I want to see built, supporting the solutions I believe we need, rather than waiting on government. Unlike the much older generation who are bequeathed, existing industries and mismanaged them, we haven't been left with much to manage. So we need to build new things and new realities. Millennials find themselves in a peculiar place in Nigeria and in the rest of the world, not being quite as rich, connected, and in power as their parents. Therefore, younger people need to envision and embark on more audacious projects quickly. We are like the brave new pioneers on a journey of discovery, except that we're setting off from the ruins of generations before us. Though I use Afrobeat as an example of an area where capacity must be built to realize domestic revenue potential, it is to use it as an illustration of how to develop an ecosystem that ensures it makes money locally. This strategy can be applied to making cars, computers, or pretty much any industry. The point is that we need to build from scratch the industry we want to see. My message today is for us to go out, build what needs to be built with audacity, inspired by the hopes set by Faye, the goodwill of air peace, and the possibilities AI provides. It lends into the future beyond the endless fixations on the looting of politicians.
I like that you used a very simple sample, which is Afrobeats. My dear friend Obi Asika is always, 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 always going on about the ecosystem, the infrastructure, what we don't have, like stadiums, performance spaces, you know, the transport ecosystem, the transport structure, infrastructure, etc. All this infrastructure that generates or that drives revenue generation. And what you're saying is that same infrastructure could drive so much more.
Absolutely.
I think it's excellent. And look, citizens to the rescue, you say? I say we all get our capes in green, white, green. Right?
I'm with you, but you can only build in a conducive environment. For all the positives you've mentioned, the arts, the fashion, movies, music, it's always been a struggle. But regardless, that is what I like about the Nigerian spirit. It is relentless. It is resilient. And we'll say, support or no support, which is what you're saying, we're going to do it. But then when you now come to a place where the people who are supposed to give you the conducive environment are now the ones causing you to sort of be...
They're restricting your growth.
Yes, thank you. Restricting you. And you still try regardless, and then they want to now take the praise for it. I have a problem with that. But it's always been the citizens for the country, always saying we can do it. Nigerians travel across the world. Even here, we have this goal-getting spirit that we will do it. Whether you come on board, you don't come on board, we are here because we are our nation.
I mean, Nollywood did exceptionally well.
On their own steam.
Not all by themselves, you know.
So
and
did
people
music.
underestimate.
Yeah.
So did
Fashion.
music.
Yeah.
But I think Nollywood even more so because there was this snobbery.
Yes.
I always use
Oh, yeah.
Nollywood
Yes.
because this snobbery that existed.
Even the
you know,
elites that said their children could not come near.
So
We
I
are the
think-
leprosy type.
Yes.
So I think one of the
Their
problems
children are now
one
here.
of the problems we have, even with Nollywood and with music, and when we say Afrobeat, it seems like Afrobeat is like the only music we listen to.
It's not.
Which is not.
There's Juju,
Apala,
there's Apala, everything.
Fuji,
You know,
Juju.
so I think that while the citizens must have tried their best, especially with Nollywood, I mean, they did it without any
Yes,
you know,
no help.
Afrobeat, the same thing.
Yes.
But how far have you gone with it? That's the question. If you are really, really agenda setting, the way we should be agenda setting, Nollywood will have somebody in the places where the conversations need to be had.
How much more can we do?
We need to build a lot more. A lot of us
Yeah,
need to be
National
doing
Theatre that should have
let
been
me
used
just
by
come in.
us, they've closed it since when? Only God knows who has it now.
Let me
renovation.
just come in here.
Exactly.
There are a lot of businesses that have closed today because of insecurity.
That's right.
And you can think whatever mind you want to think, it's not going to work.
That's right.
Copyright laws will not be made by people like it. It's the government that will ensure that people's jobs are being protected. So in as much as we try to, the reason why Nigeria is still standing, honestly, I think is because of citizens who have been doing a lot. And earlier today, I read something on Twitter where somebody said, we've been subsidizing the failure of government. They take our money and they do all sorts. That's what is happening. That's what we've been doing all here. So we have to think about it. First of all, as a business person, and I will tell you this, I sell food items. I do a lot of things. A part of the things I do, I sell food items. Noodle, rice, oil, ground oil. Right now, they are now luxury items.
Yes.
Where literally the warehouse, I mean, one customer will come and spend millions, buy things. You're staying, people are not coming because noodle is now a luxury. So there's so much that citizens can do. And I think sometimes when we just keep putting this thing on citizens, we should leave government alone. No.
This is the best time of our lives as young people. Back in the days, we had a lot of, I mean, when you look at the government policies, when you look at finance, we had all of this, you know, roadblocks, right? And this is going to be what I'm going to be talking about today. But we've come to a time where the amount of money that we need to spend to execute a project has gone from here to here. So it comes to the fact now that young people need to start taking responsibility.
And risks.
Yes, because if you're 30 years old and you're waiting for a 45, 50 years old to do something for you, it's not going to happen. I don't want us, as much as we have all of these roadblocks and all of these policies that are not working into our favor, I don't want us to...
we have to ride beyond them.
Go beyond it. Like you said, we have to just
Incidentally, old people did the same.
We have to just...
People have been going since.
That's...
The reason why Nigeria is here today is because people have been going beyond government.
Thank you.
And we've ended up
Thank
enabling a government and giving them, that room for them to continue to abdicate their responsibilities.
Thank you.
You said something about ideas. How would the bank accept your idea as collateral when there's no rule of law? Tomorrow you carry that idea and go and do something else with it, and they can't do anything. These are some of the problems. Those same banks you're talking about that they are making so much money is because of the status quo. They need the corruption to make money. Nigerian banks, I can tell you, without the corruption in Nigeria,
They
wouldn't
would
be
be
making
broke.
as much money
Yeah.
as they are today.
Yes.
Because they are not
Speak.
focused on businesses.
They're not retail
It's easier
banks.
to
Yes.
do
They're
a
not
round
real
tripping
retail.
and make your money than
Yes.
it is to go and be funding one
Yes.
business or the other. Your business will go down. Your bank will not call you and ask you, okay, what's
What
happening?
can we
What
do?
can we
Yeah,
do?
your
No,
finances are
they
down.
will
How
be telling
can
you,
we
okay,
help
you
you?
got this loan,
Yeah.
you've not paid one thing or the other. So the reason, even those banks that you see them, this humongous profit that they are declaring, how is it that they are declaring so much profit, but businesses are going down? Doesn't make sense. It's because of that corruption. That's why they are succeeding. Oil and gas and all that. It's all a cesspool of, the status quo. And that's why whenever you want to remove corrupt government, those people in those sectors are the ones that stand with those the corrupt officials or politicians that want to come in.
The sooner we direct our focus to the superhero within, the sooner we'll stop looking for help from without. Kate is up next, and she's also speaking of change of perspective.
As someone I know says, we major on the minors and neglect the majors. Time to see things from the right lens. I'm saying strength in diversity. You cannot tell a man who sets out early in the morning with his hook, bait, and boat to catch fish how he will cook and eat it in the end. Now, can you? The recent debate or discussions online about the attire of the cabin crew of the official maiden flight of Air Peace to London, to me, is much ado about nothing. They will not be the first airline in the world to do this. Emirates, Ethiopian Air, Singapore Airlines, to mention a few, are all attired in their country's outfits. It adds variety to life across cultures, creates unity within shared culture. In a country as diverse as ours, it is a strength that too often we let the political elite use as a tool to divide us when it suits them. And this was occasioned most visibly in the last election. We need to resist vehemently this weapon of division. If anything, this is a chance to showcase our culture, our food and languages to the rest of the world. Take, for instance, Nollywood, Yinka already spoke about that, which has catapulted brand Nigeria across the globe. Its recent releases of film titles like Jagun Jagun, Afame Funa, Amina, Anikulaku tell of our history, attires, belief, and much more. We need to heal from the pain and unrest that causes us to hate one another on the basis of tribe. I hear Zobo and Kilishi was served on board the Air Peace flight to London. I wish I was there. Now, that is thinking outside of the box. Virgin Atlantic Air, which I fly regularly, serves jollof rice, spicy stew, and plantain on its Nigerian route. So, go figure. We need to embrace diversity. We are a community of divergent cultures, ideas, and people.
So the thing is this, right? Our unity is a threat to some people in this country. And so they will do everything to keep us disunited. Yeah. Because the moment we are united, we will now know who the common enemy is, and then we'll face them. Yes. And most times what they try to do is to keep that flame of hatred going on. That's the way they can keep the people so divided that they wouldn't know what to pay attention to. Whenever I hear Nigerians say to me that we are not united, we're so divided, I always say to them, first of all, if you fly over any city in Nigeria without you being told where it is, they look the same. Yes. If you were to be dropped in any city in Nigeria without the clothing and you don't hear the language, you wouldn't know where you are. Yeah. I've been to places that I'm like, in the west, in the east, in the northern part of, I'm like, so that looks like my village. That looks like my area. They look similar. Why? The poverty is the same. The unemployment is the same. And I tell people, let's focus on these things. Let's focus on the fact that we don't have access to good quality education, public education, access to good healthcare system. You know, access to to good quality education is dependent on the economic status of one's family. And for me, that's the biggest injustice in Nigeria. Let's look at the fact that we don't have good roads anywhere in Nigeria. Let's look at the fact that, you know, people are dying, we have insecurity, people are being killed all over Nigeria. So these are enough things to unite us, even if we don't want to look at the other things. When we get ourselves united on these problems, and we get to a place where we have 24/7 electricity, and then we work on it, and then we have a country that is thriving, a country where, you know, you don't need to know anybody before you get a job. Somebody is leaving school, and then you already have a job waiting for even before you leave your university. Your roads, you're traveling, you're not thinking about potholes, you're not thinking about being kidnapped and all of that. By the time we have a country that works for all of us, we can ask and say, kids, since where you come from, myself, me come from a which tribe you been, a bright Yinka. Yinka, you know.
So what do you
so at the end of the day,
no, you have no issues with the airpiece maiden flight attired in that coach.
Oh, that airpiece. Did you see it? I felt like, you know,
Yes.
let me sit up, Jared.
Yes.
You know that part where Ale Oyema was walking? I said, see my guy. And the crew were behind him. Oh, more, they do good job. I was feeling Nigeria. I was saying, yes, so see us. They want to try us. They never see anything. They come.
never see
Nigeria told
anything.
the world.
I think sometimes Nigerians, we celebrate really early. I know that we have a lot of problems and we always like to celebrate. And I also do think that...
No,
Let him
put it
speak.
there. Put it there.
No, you are not. You are such a pessimist. Go ahead.
I also do think that we get carried away with that as well a lot. And this is it. I'll go back to what I said about Afrobeat. Afrobeat to the world. How many artists are these artists that Afrobeat to the world? Every week, over 2,000 plus songs are submitted to streamers in Nigeria. What's their fate? What's going to happen to them? That's on one side. Also, when you look at things like, Airpiece and some of the things you said about Nigeria, where we're going to have like 24/7 power. Look at a country like Qatar, for instance. I'm not sure there are up to 2 million people there. Those are the kind of countries where you can start saying you're allocating funds in the way that we're talking about. I think Nigeria left that place before this, even around the 70s. We're at a place now that there are so many people in Nigeria, and there's so many possibilities that even the Qatarians cannot dream of if Nigeria was standing on its feet. And there's so much possibilities in Nigeria that Nigeria needs to be monetized. You know, you need to think about it from that point of view. When you hear people say, oh, total addressable market, we're trying to build this tech and whatever, 200 million people in Nigeria, less than 10% of that can make any purchase of anything whatsoever.
Purchasing power.
So this is not going to be an advocacy about, oh, make light work, make this work. When you sit down and do the numbers of what will take to make the light work. When I was in primary school, I heard about rural electrification. And what that meant then was that they were not going to put power in villages because they couldn't pay for it. Then there was this argument that said, no, we're all Nigerian, let's all have power. Now, when you look back at it, at the number of Nigerians and what it takes to power Nigeria, you begin to ask yourself the question that does Nigeria make a good business sense? So there's a lot of our problems are hinged on the fact that we cannot be properly monetized.
First of all, for you to get your citizen, we're 200 million people. It's not about the number.
Yes.
200 plus, right? Where is the education? How empowered are your citizens? Public education is not there. So automatically people are born, they're going to remain poor, they can't earn money, they can't spend money. Where is the business? How are you going to monetize it? When the income is not there.
Yeah.
So the government needs to put in all of these things in place before you begin to get that dividends that you're coming for.
For me, it was all about marketing. You know, I'm familiar with that walk, and most Nigerians are not. That's exactly what Richard Branson used to do. So Mr. Airpiece has taken a leaf out of the best marketer and promoter in the airline industry, Richard Branson. That's why his girls used to wear red, you know, because it's
red is a catchy
there's that
color.
thing about red and women.
Yes.
Red and women.
Absolutely.
And the effect that it has on male
Or the male
customers.
folk.
And if you notice, permit me.
Yeah, young child. It's okay.
Never take the marketing aspect, which is actually very psychological.
You're finished.
It was such an incredibly smart thing for them to do. So for me, Airpeace is selling, he's marketing, he's his chief promoter, and whatever happens, I agree with Yinka. I'm not euphoric, I'm respectful, right? That's what I am. I'm respecting the fact that this man is doing something and is taking it to places that even he may have not thought he would go to. But I'm not going to start clapping because I want to see the longevity. I paid for Arik. I flew on Arik. I really liked Arik. And then it went belly up.
Okay. We're going to run up.
I think I agree with what you're saying, but I also think we should celebrate the small
Thank
wins.
you very much.
Yeah, and that's
it. There's already so much happening in this country, and when there's something good happening,
let's be happy. We need some joy.
We should celebrate.
So to embrace strength in diversity, you need to be progressive in your thinking. And that's where Bright is taking us. And even visionary perspective. Up next, young man.
All right, tonight we dive deep into a topic that's reshaping our world, artificial intelligence, or AI. But this isn't just another tech talk. It is about our lives, our jobs, and our future. So, whether you are a student in Abuja, a trader in Lagos, or a farmer in Enugu, stick around. This conversation matters to you, to me, and to all of us. Humanity has always been on the move, from the days we powered machines with water and steam to now, where something as intangible as data drives our world. We're living through the fourth industrial revolution. Folks, AI is at the forefront, changing everything we thought we knew about work. So, what's AI? Imagine a computer or a robot doing things that usually need human intelligence, like recognized speech, learning, planning, or even solving problems. It's the brain behind your phone's autocorrect, the voice of Siri, and much more. AI is here, making life simpler, but at what cost? Here is where it hits home. Reports from giants like Goldman Sachs and PwC tells us a staggering 300 million jobs globally are set to change because of AI. Yes, you heard that. From Canva simplifying graphic design to autonomous vehicle from Tesla aiming to redefine transportation, AI is not just knocking, it's already in the living room. Let's talk specifics. AI like ChatGPT are crafting content that would take humans hours. Canva lets anyone with a laptop become a graphic designer. And Sora, let's not even go deep into that. It would create content and edit it in seconds. The impact, over 300 million jobs are at risk across sectors like entertainment, to healthcare, finance, to legal service. In fact, just to simplify it, every white-collar job is at risk. Everything you can do with a computer can do by itself. But it's all not doom and gloom. There are skills AI can't replicate yet. Trades like carpentry, electrical installation, hairdressing, acting, barbing, plumbing, technical and vocational skills that requires, human touch, creativity, and empathy. As AI reshapes our world, these skills becomes more valuable, not less. This brings us to a crucial question. Is our educational system keeping up? Currently, many schools and universities prepare students for a world that's rapidly changing. To thrive in an AI-driven future, we need to rethink education, focusing on areas AI is set to expand, like robotics, AI ethics, and data science, while also valuing skills in creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and human empathy. As we wrap up tonight's conversation, remember this. change has always been a part of our story. AI is just the latest chapter. It's up to us to adapt, to learn, and to dream of new possibilities. Let's prepare ourselves and our children, not just to navigate this new world, but to thrive in it.
I'm very pessimistic about AI, also because of the loss of jobs. But I'm glad you mentioned that AI cannot do everything. There's that human element to some of the stuff, like films. I mean, they can replicate some, but when it comes to theater, you need to see people.
Yeah.
The stuff that you mentioned that require human touch. AI is a robot. AI has no feelings, no emotions. It has been computed from different conversations and interactions of humans into this machine. And if you watch...
You say it like that.
Yeah, it is. If you watch... It is.
Yeah.
If you watch futuristic movies, you will know where these things are heading. Especially from America, you see how, you don't have phones anymore. You just tap some screen and something...
1999,
you know,
that's before
but
your
it
time.
is a computation of different experiences of humans. I believe the human race is at risk, and I'm very pessimistic about it. That's all I have to say for now.
I'm very invested in this particular one, even more than my own advocacy, you know. And I think a lot of people are still misunderstanding what AI is, right? And we seem to be in cousin industries, like the same Nollywood, TV, and all of that. I think what AI really does is it lets you do things a lot faster.
Yeah.
And it brings you to many more information that you wouldn't have had.
Yeah.
Let's leave creativity. Let's go to carpentry, right? I mean, I have a workshop, carpentry workshop at home. I just make some things just for fun.
Hobby.
Yes, a hobby. Now, there are certain angles that you might want to measure. There's a possibility that I could measure that angle and impute it, and it tells me the exact, length, that will complete that, maybe right angle or 45 degrees or whatever. There's a possibility that I could program my miter saw, for instance, to cut 40 degrees 6 times while I'm doing something else. So most of the time, what people are doing right now is they're afraid.
I don't think we should be afraid of AI. I personally am excited by it. What I am afraid of is how AI can be weaponized negatively, right?
Possibly,
and cause, or it's not possible. We've seen it happen,
absolutely.
right? And that's what concerns me. And when we talk about AI and Nigeria, as I said in my advocacy last week or whenever it was, is that what we need is a strong legislation. We need the National Assembly to wake up and actually engage young people, experts who understand our AI, and put a legal structure around it that can protect your identity, my identity, the identity of our children. Because unless we have that, we cannot begin to celebrate the emergence of AI in our country. Right now, Bright, somebody steals from your account. There is no legislation that actually protects any money that is stolen from your account digitally. There isn't. The only thing we have is a Cybercrimes Act. So that's what I'm saying, that once we celebrate all of this, and I'm with you, I really am excited. Believe it or not, us old people love technology too. But I'm just saying, what we old people come with, if you like, is a little bit of caution. Just government needs to step in.
For me, it's something that I'm not very conversant with. I haven't used any. I just looked at it from afar. I'm actually in school. All my homework, I still do them the traditional way, looking for the materials and everything. But I think what is happening with AI today is it's a thing that happened with, computers, using computers about 30 years ago. I remember I finished university before I went to a computer school. It was strange. We had to now start learning how to learn all of those. And there was fear was gripping everyone. What's going to happen? Jobs are going to be taken away just as much as we have it today. But at the end of the day, I think the human race is very resilient.
Absolutely.
They will just go. New ones will be created. And as we go on, of course, like you did say, it's a beautiful thing that is going to happen. We will adapt to it. Those stories that are being told, whether they will find the story or not find the story, somehow the generation that will be at that time, we adjust their minds to taking the stories that AI will be generating. It might not be what we have today. It's like you look at what we had before, the kind of music that were being produced before, even art, they've changed from what we have right now. So people will go up.
Jobs may not completely vanish, but they're going to move.
Thank you.
Like people doing editing and all of that now. There's an AI called Descript or something. You can edit this text and it edits the video.
Yes.
So you don't need to learn how to edit for 4 years before you start doing that. Right now you can. That's one. Hold on, just hold on 1 minute. Now, a lot of shift will happen.
Yeah.
Right? It will not disappear. It will just shift. Second thing we need to think about for AI is universal basic income.
Yeah.
Because while there was companies, where there were secretaries then, shorthand and all of that, a lot of typists, a percentage will never be able to shift into this next job. And we need to start thinking about how people earn
redeployment
and eat without actually doing anything.
All right, let's keep the conversation going. What skills are you thinking of picking up? How are you preparing for this AI era? Share your story with us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. Let's talk.
Thanks for challenging us, so Bright. This one assignment to give us. So, foresight and hindsight are dear to instructors. What are we learning from the culture of looting amongst our political officials? Do we as Nigerians have the moral justification to be angry at our elected officials who loot? We were all outraged and shocked at the allegations few weeks ago of padding of the budget by the National Assembly and the subsequent revelations that some senior senators were given 500 million naira each. Typical Nigerian way, we have moved on from that with the many different things that hit us daily, plus our need to always play ostrich. But most importantly, our need to always major in the minor. This blatant misuse of public funds is enough to get anyone angry. After my anger came retrospection. How do these elected officials get into office? What funds do they use? How will they come back? Citizens are okay with politicians using their own money to fund elections. They even make demands on the politicians. And any politician that does not dole out money is seen as unserious and mocked. How then do we expect people to get into offices and not recoup what they have used and even prepare for the next round of elections? For any problem to be solved, we first of all have to be truthful with ourselves in recognizing what the problem is and where it is coming from and who are responsible for the problem. In this case, we all are responsible for the problem. By refusing to donate to the campaigns of politicians and even making demands on them to give monies to people, we have ensured that it is only those who are extremely rich or those who have looted our commonwealth that will continue to perpetuate themselves or their stooges in office. And when they get there, they almost always have to recoup what they spent with some profit. It is no longer politics, so it is now business. For us to have the kind of elected officials where our monies are safe, we must begin to put our monies where our votes are. If 1 million Nigerians donate 1,000 naira monthly, that would be 1 billion naira monthly. In a year, we'll have 12 billion naira, which should be 48 billion in every 4 years. Is that something we can use to get competent people into offices without they having to use their monies? We can start by first focusing on the legislative arm of government. Imagine the number of people that will run for office if money was not a problem. This way, we can get in people who have competence, character, capacity, who will do the work diligently and ensure there is good governance, accountability, and transparency. But most importantly, we protect our commonwealth and ensure its judicious use. What do you
Sis,
think, guys?
You have touched
Oluwaisha.
that. You have touched. Can I
I know
go
that's
first?
a tautology. No, I said Oluwaisha. I know that's a tautology.
You can go. You have spoken to the heart of what just makes me truly happy. My personal experience running for office is the demand of money. Everywhere you go, no matter the English you speak and the lofty ideas, you tell them how you're going to do this for them. At the end, land well. You have not landed. And you know what that means. At every point in time, there is no one, apart from one lady, I won't mention her name, who refused to take money and drinks from me. The supermarket where I went to always, they know me. I just come there, you have to go with drink. You won't even see anybody. You have to go with drink and money. I even bought a goat at one time. So it stands to reason that when these politicians get there, all the money plus interest. Yeah. So why would I then care about you? I've given you money. I've given you something. So you've got to wait. Let me recoup myself. And then maybe I will spare you a thought. Not even time. I might spare you a thought and then start to do things for you. So the fault lies with us. It lies with us in every way. And that's why we keep coming up with the same old people who do not care, who are so far removed from how we feel, and even though they live on the same street, you can't see them. You can't talk to your local government chairman. You don't even know who he is. Before, we used to know the name of our governors, the name of our ministers. I don't even know who is there now because I've lost interest.
Yeah. The reason why I feel really passionate about what you're talking about is we're not going to change the current specimens we have occupying our parliament if we do not get new, good people with character, competence, integrity, and all those indices that makes good leadership. And the only way we can get that is to actually begin to change them generation-wise.
Education.
Bring young people in. But beyond education, we spoke earlier, I said, in Senegal, the only reason we're able to celebrate Diomaye Faye at the age of 44. Incidentally, Usman couldn't give him the money. Usman is 49. Usman Sonko is because Senegal pays for everybody's campaign, right? So imagine if Nigeria put money aside.
Who is the one putting the money aside?
No, the government. It's not even that. It's a country. It's part of the legislation. It's not even about which government is in power. It's that if the country believes in democracy and believes in the people and believes in the fact that it's a cycle, then you will invest in good leadership. Candidates, I'm really passionate about, candidates should not have to be burdened with looking for money because they have so much more they have to do.
There are many structures that enables the situation that we find ourselves.
Yes.
Let's talk about our judicial system, which is supposed to hold people accountable. I didn't even know there was a cap. I mean, the possibilities of the government providing funds for campaign, I don't see that happening. But at least, just the way they have, the leagues, like the football leagues, for example, all the teams, they have a cap. Each team has a cap. You cannot spend above this amount. If not, you get Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar in one team, and then they'll just be winning all the games, right? So there's a cap. So your highest funds will go to your star players, and then the other funds will go to the smaller players to support the star players. We should have that. Now, I have worked in the youth development space and empowerment space for a long, since 2015. I'm not that old, but since 2015, 2013, ish.
You brought it up.
I have done a lot of work in that space, incredible work in that space, right? Not funded by government or anything. I literally use most of my money and then try and raise money from foundations, private sector, and all of that. A couple of people called me and were like, "Oh, Bright, we're sending your name to a couple of places because we need you to come in there and do what you're doing because it's amazing." And what got back to me was the person said, one of the people within the group said, "He won't come shop when you no work."
Off your mic, please.
Mic off.
I'm thinking they're saying in broken English. He said, "He won't come shop when you no work." Do you know how much work I have done in this space?
In their space you have it.
And me coming into the space is to expand and get more people to benefit from the things that I've done without government support, right? And that's where it comes in, where people even think that, because you're not part of the people that raise funds or carry flag or run around to make sure that the politician wins the election, even if you have what it takes to be in a position of impact, because you know work, inside the campaign, you know, go chop.
Can I
That's
take
where
you?
the problem
Can I
is.
take you?
But yeah, that's my take.
There's no, let's assume I'm in a party and you came to do that. We don't have a guarantee that you have what you say it takes, number one. We don't have. Number two,
Now what? Sorry.
we don't trust you.
They don't trust you because you have not been eating with them
not-
since.
we
You
don't
haven't
your
shown
capabilities.
walkings.
Yes, you have not. You know,
in what way?
okay, you're this great AI engineer and everything. You come to Nigeria, you want to solve these problems, but we've been solving problems in Agege. We've been solving problems in Okoko. We did not see you. You see,
No, that's not the case. That's
hold on. There's a
That's how it
lot.
works.
There's a lot of emotional
Attachments.
intelligence and attached in some of these things.
Yes.
And each time we speak in this way, we don't understand it, and we will never solve the problem. One example: if a senator got 500 million, you're asking why he got that 500 million. What's he going to use it for, right? If a advanced free fraud Yahoo guy got that 500 million, have you asked yourself what your people invest money in? Even if you stole the money, have you asked
are they
yourself
doing with
what
it?
they do with the money? When you go around Nigeria, how many things do you see? Now, if somebody has 500 million that he can do anything with, what is he going to use that money for? What have they been using the money for?
Oh, no, they're outside now.
So the point is that each time we misunderstand the way the government works. So the point is that we keep looking at what is the state. You need to understand, when she said, who's going to fund the election in Senegal or whatever. Okay, yeah, you can have a car. America does that.
Exactly.
There are ways to, there are ways to get money to campaign, to fund your campaign in other ways, but there's a cap. There is
We
where your
already
money
have a
must
cap
come
in
from.
We have a car.
We have a cap.
But the point is that even if the government gave all 5 of us here 500 million each,
How are we going to spend it?
how would you know
Each person.
How would you know how many people I've been feeding for the past 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, who are just going to be loyal to me for no reason?
So the thing is this. The problem is this.
Problem long.
As citizens, there's no, our moral values have been
It's a
eroded.
problem.
Yes, thank you.
Integrity gone. So it's all about how can you get money.
What-
Even
for
when
what-
you get there, they will say, if you get there, you need to make money to give others. So if we continue on that, what we see now is just child's play. It will continue, it will continue to go on, because what will happen is that, like I said earlier, those who have stolen our commonwealth will be the ones who will continue to perpetuate themselves of their stooges in office. So it's either we now decide we must put our monies where our votes are and begin to let money not be an option when people want to run.
Yes.
Because, so by us donating. So you don't
So
need
what
to
she's
donate more. What I'm
advocating
saying,
for
just
is
donate to
that
the
for
campaign
donate.
of those running
If
for office that
if
you
you
know are
believe in
credible.
somebody,
You do
Yes.
put your money where your
Don't
your
expect
body,
anything
yes.
from them.
That way you can then speak
But
to
you know,
it.
for me, one of the things that I've done is tough love. If you collected a sachet of, what do you call this thing, a spaghetti, to vote for somebody, by God's me, you're going to eat that spaghetti for the next 4 years. You're not going to come to me and tell me that, you are hungry or whatever. What I say to people, go and meet those people that you voted into office, let them take care of your responsibility. Because part of the problem that we also do is that we play government and we play God. We want to always be helping people. I don't want to help anybody. I want people to not need my help. Government, we demand your this thing for you, votes from you, right? Those in government. And then God will demand loyalty from you. So why is it that the rest of us, we do things and without asking for anything in return? It doesn't make sense. And these people will end up voting people who will bring in policies that will destroy businesses, destroy everything.
Destroy
the money
lives.
you used to make before, you don't even make it that you used to share before. So until we get to a place where we also begin to let people understand tough love, you do anyhow during election, you will see anyhow for the rest of the 4 years towards the election, because every 4 years, that's when we have the miracle we are always praying for.
Okay.
Here at the table, we don't just get angry, we take responsibility and we get active. Join us again, same time next week, same channel, when we lay out fresh topical issues for interrogation. Till then, it's goodbye from all of us.
Bye.
Bye.